We are back, second episode of the True Walk podcast. Today, tonight, the morning, however you're going to watch this thing, we have a special guest, and I'm very, very proud to have him here. Taylor Wills is with us today, and he's going to have an outstanding story for us. And as many of you may know him as T Wills, but T Wills is here. We're gonna talk about a few things and kind of, I guess, hear your life story.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I've been really excited about this one, and of course, me and this young man have known each other for a long time, and we're related on the Wills side, and my grandmother was a Wills, so that's one thing. But he's gonna have us an outstanding story today. But anyway. So what we're going to do is just like we're going to do every podcast. We're going to start it off with a prayer. So the ones that are out there, if you don't mind, if you're a gentleman, take your hat off. We're going to bow our heads and we're going to go into prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this wonderful day you've given us, Lord. Thank you for this platform that you have given us to be able to spread the word, Lord, and to be able to give people hope, Lord. Lord, I thank you for Taylor out here. I thank you for the message that you're going to run through him today, Lord. Also, we've had a few things that have happened here locally that has touched home, and Lord, I ask you to pray for those people. We have a couple of people that are in Jamaica during the hurricane. We've had some lost loved ones that were unexpected, Lord. We ask you to be with those, Lord. We ask you to be with us as we go through this podcast, Lord. That you lead us, that the story gets reach to someone out there today, Lord. And if anybody out there is suffering or struggling, Lord, we ask you to touch them in this podcast, Lord. Lord, we ask you to lead, guide, and direct us. Forgive us for our sins, and in your name we pray. Amen. All right, big dog. So what we're going to do is, we're going to go over a few things, and I give you a list, and I gave that to you, and that's just part of the thing that we do. But anyway, so let's just start it off. What's your favorite Bible verse?
I think 1 John 4:19
Okay.
is we love because he loved us first.
That's true. I mean, that is true. I mean, that is great. So why, and it makes me, because there's so many verses in the Bible, there's so many things that you could pull out. Why is that one so close to me? What is that?
I think through good and bad, really, at the end of the day, love
Conquers all.
everything.
Yeah, it does. Growing up, I always had a bad issue. Like as I got older, I got a lot of resentment, a lot of anger in me. I mean, and with the help of my wife and my family, you slowly start changing. But then when you start reading into the Bible, when you start feeling that, and you really feel that true love, that love, and it releases a lot of that stuff that's been holding you down for so long, but that's a good one, man. That's really, really good. So in this episode, what we're going to do is I'm going to ask him a few questions in the beginning, because I think, and I don't know what he's going to talk about, but I think his story is going to be one that I don't want to interrupt it, and I'm not going to change it. So we're going to get the questions out in the beginning and let this thing roll and let him tell his story. What is something that somebody may not know about you that may surprise them? But man, I didn't realize that.
Well, they wouldn't know probably unless I told them, but I don't know if anybody else would be able to say this ever, but
Yeah.
I got engaged to my wife. I gave my life to Christ. I got married in the same day.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's, well, I mean, if you think about it, though, that's the way the good Lord wanted it. Apparently.
So I got it. But I don't know. It was it's pretty wild to think
It
about.
is pretty wild to think about.
It makes it easy for me to remember.
Everything.
Yeah, and it's the day after my wife's birthday.
So. Boy, you just said I'm just going to put it all in the basket.
Yeah, so 21st her birthday, 22nd our anniversary, and 25th Christmas. But she gets the whole month as Christmas, I guess.
Well,
so it works out.
That's perfect. You know, and that's the thing, you know, birthdays come, you know, but I can't really say anything because, you know, when it comes to birthdays and Christmas and stuff, I'm like a big kid, man. To this day, you know, I want all of it, you know, I want every bit of it, you know, so, but yeah, man, so I, I, I went ahead and me and Taylor haven't talked about what he's going to be talking about. But the thing of it is I went ahead and come up with a verse that I felt like, well, the good Lord laid it on me, and I had several different verses, this one just stuck out to me, and I'm like, I'm just going to read this one verse, and this verse, let me put these glasses on. Wait, wait, buddy. You ain't gonna be able to say, I can't see nothing. I'm telling you, I can see far off, but when it's up close, hang it up. But this is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4. It says, Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. Now, exasperate. If you like me, I had to look it up. But it does not, do not frustrate or irritate. Basically, be a little gentle, train them, have patience. And so when this was brought up and kind of pulled into my face and I looked at it, I was like, I feel like this is where it's at to me. Like I felt like as a father, uh, and I'm not perfect, trust me, because with my boys, that's pretty rough on them, you know. But I look back on it, and there's a couple of things I wish I could have done a little different as far as like just handle things a little different. You know what I mean? And being a dad, and you're a dad now,
It's the greatest thing in the world.
man. It's
But dad guilt is for real.
so when you try to explain that to your kids, man, and they're now my boys are old. My boys are good. Don't get me wrong. Uh, they're good, but there's things that when I try to talk to them about, they're like, oh, but they don't realize it right now. But when they have kids, and there's going to be situations that it's going to arise, you don't get a handbook to be a dad, man. Like it's something it's just like anything else, but you're learning on the as it goes. It's not like you're not getting to be able to study for it. No, it's laid right out there in front of you, and you hope you handle it, and you pray that you handle it the best way, but sometimes things don't actually turn out like that.
I mean, you think you're ready until you are, and it's time to get ready, regardless.
You don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice, man, and that's pretty cool. But so I know you got us a story, man, and I've been waiting on this one. I got my tissue ready. I got it, man, and I'm sure because I'm telling you, like, I get choked up over stuff, but there's nothing wrong with it.
There's not having me as love.
Yeah, it's love, man. You're exactly right.
It is. So,
Yeah. Go ahead, brother.
I mean, even working 12-hour swing, my kids are at the age now where they cry at the door when they leave on nights. I cry every time, every single time. And I don't know if it'll change.
Well, you don't want it to change.
You know?
I'm telling you that because that's deep love, man, and that's another thing. Uh, you don't know love until you have a child, man, and that love is a different love. You know what I mean? It's a different love. I mean, you can love things. I love a lot of people, and I love a lot of things, but my family, dude, my kids, my wife, they're it's just a different love because they love you back the same way. You know, my wife sometimes may not, but but I mean, but you kids, man, are just different.
It is. 1,000%.
So, what you got for us, big dog? What we gonna talk about here? I know it's
I think just like my childhood, my growing up, I mean, I think there's kids that are living the same way that I did and worse, lots worse. But I think there's some in our own community that are.
and there are and Taylor and I'm gonna speak to everybody out there. The reason that we do this that we're all doing this. This is not my podcast tonight, it's Taylor's. But it's to reach people that may be in similar situations that don't realize that they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel yet. And there's light in there.
Absolutely.
And so the whole purpose behind this is to make sure that whoever sees this understands that, hey man, because when you hear this story, the ones of you that don't know, you'll realize it. But anyway, I'm gonna give it to Taylor and let him roll with it.
I think, let's see. I'm starting to mark it, remember.
You just start. Yeah.
I guess, first of all, my mom moved away when I was a little kid. I'm not sure what age. We have a great relationship now.
Right.
But, then my dad's been in jail, prison. And so I remember in first grade, I went and told my dad bye at the jail. And my aunt, Margaret aunt in Texas, came pick me up, took me to San Antonio. Went back up. I went from living not great, but just the relationship was great with my parents that I remember. But maybe the home life wasn't, if that makes sense. There wasn't no physical, nothing like that. Just being present wasn't always an option.
Right. And I think times just somebody being there for you. It doesn't matter how you're living or what. It's just if you have that parental love, that knowing that they're there.
Right. So my aunt comes picks me up, takes me to San Antonio. I lived there from first to fourth grade, but I lived the complete opposite life. So, which I'm thankful for because I've lived both. I feel like I've lived pretty roughly and with people that were, well, they're all good people, but money wasn't an issue in Texas. It just wasn't. That's just the truth. And they spoiled me. Did they feel bad for me? Probably a little. I kind of look at it from their perspective now that I'm older, and have kids. I would kind of feel sorry for a kid that didn't have everything. But so I guess that's why I spoil my kids today. But I went from not going to church ever to my aunt working at a church. Went there every time the door was open. Which as a kid, it was pretty cool. It was Max Lucado was a preacher. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
But I was a little guy that loved sports. There was San Antonio Spurs players that went there, and it was just a special deal. But this is no exaggeration. And her husband plays sports also. Honestly, they saved my life. If you want the truth, I think back on it often, and if they wouldn't have picked me up, I'm not sure who would. Mom right here.
So you're living with your aunt and uncle basically. You're living with your aunt and uncle, and you're living in Texas, and you've got it's a nice place. They're taking you to church, but it still ain't your parents.
It's not.
It's not your parents, and that's a whole different thing there. Still not your parents.
That's correct. So,
So you were in Texas, and you were with your aunt and uncle. You were going to church, and everything was
yes,
good. They tried to take. They took care of you. They took good care of you.
oh, they saved my life. Is where I was at. Because looking back, the last place I went before I went to Texas was to tell my dad goodbye in jail.
Right.
My mom didn't live in the state.
Right.
My grandmother had already passed away. Maybe I would end up in foster care another state. That changes everything today. I don't have kids, I have a wife, some friends. But so in fourth grade, I told my aunt that my dad got out of prison. Told her I wanted to move back here. It hurts me now, man, because she cried for a long time. And back then, saving my life, that's people you don't want to disappoint, upset. But at the end of the day, no matter how much wrong my dad did, he was still a superhero thing.
Who's your dad?
So I had to come back, and things didn't really change. I mean, huge hearted guy with addiction is the truth of it. So I would stay with friends and different friends, and I mean, I really feel like I almost feel like literally the whole community helped raise me, and that's to me it's awesome. Looking back at it, growing up, man, you're ashamed of stuff, and
Sure.
I mean, really, I mean, you look up and mom or dad ain't there. I mean, that's things you hope to never happen. When you're a kid, you hope like one day I'm not that. I'm not that. And I feel like you either fall right into it or you go as far away from it.
And you said, ashamed. And as a kid, you don't know any different. But as an adult, seeing somebody go through that, there's no shame there because the adults that are the ones that are paying attention because nobody else pays attention. The kids your age, and I mean, they might periodically, but the adults around you, they understand what's going on. And so in that term, they're kind of taking care of you in a way too. It's just, but your parents are still not there.
Even like having to get ride for ball games and stuff. As a kid, it's awesome just doing things with friends,
Right.
Whether it's staying at their house. But really, at some point in the back of your mind, it's like, man, I'm always the kid that has to ride with somebody else. Like, those things are real thoughts too.
Sure.
And but let's see. So, for an example, I didn't miss a day of school from first to fourth grade. All the best.
Right.
I remember in sixth grade when I moved back, two teachers. They were phenomenal, still phenomenal people. But I remember them coming to my house about missed so much school. It was just a difference in the way life was lived.
Right.
But I remember fourth grade moving back. Actually, LT's mom was my teacher. But I remember going out in the hall. I would tell her my stomach hurt. I would have to go out in the hall for. It felt like every day fourth grade. I don't know, but she would call my places, talk to her. I think I was homesick from the life that I currently have. Really,
Right.
I've been trying to think about like, what was that? Nerves, anxious. I think I missed it.
Right.
I mean, I had everything, everything I wanted, but I didn't have that.
Right. Right.
So, but yeah, there's so many people that had an impact that I owe everything to. That's not forgotten. And it's never going to be forgotten. Whether it's how many times I was fed by somebody that didn't know me, stayed at their house, anything like that. I think it's important to always acknowledge who was there for you and times where they didn't have.
Right.
So going forward, I moved in with my Uncle Donnie in eighth grade. His wife Jill, who Whitfield passed away. Shortly before that, I moved in with them. Another example of an excellent man.
Well, two great people.
Two great
People.
Two great people. So it was cool, man. He treated me like his own. Raised me literally like his own. That's the best example. But after that, I kind of I stayed with him until I got through college, and then me and Mike got house together, and that's really when you learn, what crowd you're gonna follow. And I mean, I'm sure most people experiment, try experiment, whatever, just with having fun or what's popular, whatever. But show me your friends, I'll show you your future. But man, I remember when I was a little kid thinking, I will change what people think about last night for my kids, and I hope I'm doing
I believe there's no doubt. I see, and and I'm proud of him. I, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. You know, uh, when you watch people come through situations similar to yours or yours, and look at where you're at now. So let me ask you this: during this process, when you were a kid, and you went to church with your aunt in Texas, and you're kind of bouncing around the whole time. I know you're missing your parents, man. You're missing your dad. And let me first of all, I want to say something. Um, your dad, when we were growing up, he was a heck of an athlete. He was a good dude, man. I'm telling you. Uh, and just because he felt an addiction, because it hits close to home for me too. You understand? And just because he felt close or felt an addiction doesn't change his heart. And so sometimes things happen to people that maybe you don't expect to happen. But I do know that he was a good guy, and I still think he is a good guy. I just think he has an issue that we had, and but I do want to say that.
So it's, as a kid, even now, there's anger there, man.
Yes, I understand.
As a kid, I didn't understand it. Man, I seen a quote, and it really makes a lot of sense. And it said, as a kid, I didn't understand it, but as a parent, I really don't.
I understand what you're saying.
And I think it hurts worse now that I know what it is to be a dad, honestly.
The only thing, though, team, is you're not married.
Correct. So one side of my brain says, man, it has to be the hardest thing in the world to be. You're willing to choose it over your kids. I mean, that's the truth there. But
Going back to what I was going to ask you, though, because I kind of got off track when I was speaking of your dad. So you went to church when you're in Texas. I'm sure you went to church periodically. But when you were a kid and all this was going on, and you were struggling with it, did you know to pray, like, to get you out of this situation? Because being a kid, because when I was young, I went through some things, and I kind of knew what Jesus and God was, but it never was really brought into my life, and I really didn't know either. I didn't know what to do.
well, like my aunt, we just books the Bible every night before bed. We, things like that. On parade, he was the leader of the household, which at that time you didn't even know what that is because you're first through fourth grade. But now I do. Perfect example of that. I think I probably did, but being that young, I probably didn't. I was probably wondering about what's going to be.
Sure.
Something to
Just being a kid, man. It's something to get your mind off of.
Sure. Right. Yeah. So, I remember my dad used to call me every Monday night. I'd be watching wrestling. That was pretty cool. But it helped, but it made it worse, too.
Right.
Simply.
Right.
But it's, the biggest thing is, man, is not forgiving. He hasn't changed, but I still forget. Well, you know what I mean?
But that's that love for him. You know, you spoke your verse, and with having faith, that's Jesus in you. We're in the image of God. It's the same thing. When you have faith, that spirit, everything is in you, and that's the only way you explain that.
Yeah. So I guess let's see where I'm at. Let's go. A lot of times,
And then you explain.
yeah. I bought my own house and partied or whatever, and then finally decided that if I keep doing this, I'm going to be the man I didn't want my dad to be. That's it. You know, you can't live your whole life saying you don't want this and then continue. I mean, you know, there's time. Honestly, there's a time to grow up.
Right.
I think,
Right.
you know, so, which I met my wife on being Lane's living together, which is, I guess, kind of a fun joke or whatever. It was a history. But, you know, now living currently, you know, me and her and our 2-year-old and 1-year-old. And I'll tell you something special, man. It's actually saying my mom still lives currently in Oklahoma and my dad's still in jail, but we moved about a year ago. The two guys, Tony Lyle lives over there and Wesley and Tammy Dow live over there. It's just a house for sale there. There's no reason. My wife thought we were outgrowing the house. The house we were in because she was pregnant somehow. And every time she's got pregnant, she's got a house out of it, which is crazy. We moved over there, and you know, it's just God, man. Wesley and Tammy became my kids' grandparents.
Good people, also. Really, really good. Yeah.
I mean, they don't have to do that.
No, but that's the types of people they are.
Watching right now.
Yeah. I mean, how good does it get?
No, but it's coincidence. I mean, I used to feel sorry, man, because I felt like my son was me. You don't have to grant that, or you know, physically.
Right.
My dad still calls and FaceTimes and all that. But as far as doing stuff with granddad or whatever,
Right.
essentially. So it's just I felt like it was pretty cool that you know it wouldn't have been that house, it wouldn't be this way. You know, so,
Oh, I know. So good Lord works like that.
it is.
You know, and it's amazing. Really.
I'll tell you a story where I seen God immediately. My daughter was born on August 1st. I believe it was August 11th. We took her to Vanderbilt because she had a humongous spot right on her breast. And so she was 10 days old. We took her up there. They had a test and had me spinal tap. So I had sign waiver. I'm not going to sign waiver. I cried. This is how soft I am on the floor. I cried when my dog got moved because I had to sign and put him to sleep.
Well, there's nothing wrong with it though, man. I mean,
But anyway, this thing was pretty massive. And I I was asking nurses, can we squeeze it? You know, but they're like, no, we don't want to squeeze it because she's so small. So anyway, I didn't have a room when we got there. We put in the hallway. You know, I was frustrated, you know, scared, worried. Then the only room that came available was the ICU room. She didn't need to be in the ICU, but that was just the only room. I tell you, if you've never been a parent in the ICU, it'll change a lot. Just from the sounds, what you see is, you know, things around the room. Right. So I keep pressing these nurses, can we please during this? I'm like, well, okay, let me ask you this. If it starts draining on its own, will you commit to draining it then? Yes. So my wife's laying in bed with my daughter's just gone to the doctor, and she's got on the name tag thing. She's got an IV in. And I noticed on her plastic little name tag that there was like some yellow little looked like liquid got on her. I told my wife I think she's been rubbing up against that with it. So I told the nurse I was excited. Hey, I gotta express this. And they did. However, I had to tell you, it was like 2 shot glasses.
Wow.
My wife worked in the wound care at the time, so she does that. But I never seen that like that come out of nobody, more or less, 10 days old.
Right.
So that was the night. They said they were going to scan it, test it in the morning. However, after they did that, during this, my son's staying with my creature. He's never stayed away from us at this time. So that's also in the back. I'm worried about him. I'm worried about. So my wife says, why don't one of us go back home, get Maggie, and just stay the night with him in our house, you know? So she agreed that she wanted me to do that. So I did that. And my wife calls me the next day. They're fixing a new test. We'll see where we're at with this thing. I'm thinking it's gone. So I'm packing my bags, going back up. They said if the test didn't come back the way they want to, they were going to have to put it. So next day, we're waiting on the results. I'm packing my bags, my son to bed again. I'm looking forward to going there and having to stay overnight. So, and drop my son back off with, our preacher and not stay with me again. I noticed when I left the hospital to go stay with him, my tags were expired. So when I dropped my son off at a preacher's house, I thought I'm going to stop real fast and get tags. The last thing I need is get the I remember going to the courthouse, another courthouse. My wife calls me and says, they just done test. She doesn't even have a symptom of anything on her test. And I cried the whole way there. I mean, I was literally driving there expecting to put my daughter to sleep that surgery. And that's the call I got. I mean, how do you explain that?
Well,
You can't.
we don't explain.
Absolutely.
And that's I learned a long time ago. I say a long time ago. It's a long time. It's really not, but it is. Deep in your faith, the stronger your faith, and I'll say this over and over and over and over. But the stronger your faith, where it's like when you're praying, it's like Jesus is right here. You know what I'm saying? The stronger your faith, and when you're praying like, I need this. Like, please help me. Things just happen. Now, it may be in his time. It may be how his time works. But when you're deep in your faith, when you really, really reach out, it works, man. It works. Prayer works.
Absolutely.
And the thing with your doctor, how does she explain it? You prayed, you're praying your tail off. I can promise you that. You were praying every time you get a chance. Because when it's with your kids, man, that's a different prayer.
Yeah.
It is, it's, it don't matter how old your kids are, man. Gav had an appendicitis a year or two ago. I mean, Gav's 25. So 23 years old, the appendicitis, was up there and he's laying in the hospital. That's a weird feeling. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it don't matter how old they get. You still don't like it. So being a baby is different. But I mean, it still don't get any better. You know, you're still worried about your offspring, and that's just being part of being a parent.
Back to back to my childhood I was talking about. There's things like I remember my dad walking from Ogden Road in junior high school to watch me play basketball. And that's stuff like that, man. Is as a kid you don't really realize. I'd say the exact truth. As a kid, you're like, man, my dad doesn't have a vehicle. But looking back at that, dude, that's 7 miles one way.
He wanted to watch you play.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I know.
And I understand that now as a parent. I did the same way.
Yeah.
Moonwalk, crawl, whatever.
Right.
Bear crawl.
Yeah.
But if I could change my childhood, man, I wouldn't. And I'm thankful for it, really. Because I think it makes you. I think it's made me who I am. Uh, I think it's relatable. I think it's a pretty cool story. But I think kids are living like that, in our community. They don't, and if they don't get nothing out of it, get this. If you want to break a generational curse, and someone tells you you're running the family, tell them to stop right here. I mean,
Yeah. So I I was listening to I guess it was basically like a podcast the other day, and this was youth, but this was brought to them by their parents, which it's probably one of the first times that I ever heard it quoted like this. But they said when you're growing up as a kid, now this was a kid telling this, which had to be taught by the parents. But when you're growing up as a kid and say whatever age you are, and you in your mind you want to be a doctor, or you want to be a lawyer, or you want to be a police officer, or you want to be a nurse, or whatever you want to be. Don't wait until you're an adult to act like that. Start acting like that now. You see what I'm saying? If you want to be a doctor, then start acting like a doctor. If you want to be a nurse, you start acting like a nurse. If you want to be a police officer, you start acting like a police officer. Do not wait, because the longer you're acting like that and the more that it's in your mind, the closer you're going to get to that goal. And you're going to be good at it. It made a lot of sense to me. And I was like, man, that's right. I mean, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So I guess you got dreams as a kid, you want to play in MLB, whatever. But I remember in junior high just thinking, man, I just want to do five. That's it. That's it. That's 2 kids in 2 years. It's right out of 7 and 7.
Hey, listen, if that's what you want, hey, more power to you. God bless you on that. And I'm fine with it. The thing of it is, though, Taylor, so explain to them now. You kind of went through your story, and so explain to them now how your life is now, like as far as your career, your wife, your everyday life. Explain how that is.
Working at battery acid plant for one. That was my career. I would say it's my career, my choice, but it's not my dream career. My dream career would be coach performance. I just can't take a pay cut to do it.
Right. But you got a good paying job, got good insurance, it's close to home. You work with a lot of good people. I know. And then
my wife currently is a nurse. She's going back to school right now to be a nurse practitioner. Got 2 kids under 2 and under. Actually been to church. Always, and I think that's important too, man. It's not just going to church, but serving church. I didn't understand it until I started doing it. And something else isn't talked about enough is serving ain't always about.
You're right.
I mean,
you're exactly right.
No, and I mean, you're there to serve. you're not there to be comfortable all the time, you know? So, but back to that.
But let's say this too. Serving doesn't always have to mean in the church. The church is a group of people, you know, regardless of where you're at. So it could be you could be serving somebody may have a flat back. It could be serving somebody who may need help with something. It could be creating a podcast to try to reach other people. There's different things that you can do to serve in a Christ-like manner that could benefit somebody else.
You know, you never know when someone's having literally the worst of it ever.
You're right.
You don't know, and it's something you don't think about as a kid.
You know?
You don't, man.
You know?
You know, you're always taught to do good and hold the door and all that stuff, but I think it's something that needs to be emphasized as you get older. So you go on your way and do it as much as you possibly can. You know? So, you know, I hope I can teach my kids. I hope they can look at me and think, but this guy.
Well, and let me tell you this. You still look up to your dad.
Absolutely.
You still love your dad.
100%.
So your kids are going to love you, man. They're going to love you. They're going to think you're the greatest thing ever.
It may sound selfish, but I hope they're proud.
They're going to be proud of you, man. I told you, like, for me, like, I'm proud of you, dude. Like, I really am. You know, and, from the bottom of my heart, when I cool them out, but when I see a story like yours, and I see the backside of it, you know, just, oh, man, it's just to me, it's just like one of the greatest things. Like that's what as you get older, your joys change, and seeing somebody that's started out where you were at and where you're at right now, man, it's hard to, you know, that's hard not to look at and be like, dude, that is so awesome, you know, and I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of your family. I'm proud of the stance that you've taken. I'm proud that you're a follower of Christ. You know, I'm super proud you're here today. Like I really am. Like you know.
Me too, man. You touched on the events that happened in our community, you know, over the last few months. What happened at the explosive plant, dude? I worked in that building for 2 years. You know, it's, you know, my condolences to the family. I couldn't imagine, but you know,
It's tough. It's tough, you know. And I had a good close friend that just recently lost one of her children. Man, I couldn't imagine. Like, I wouldn't even, like, it's hard to think about. And I've been praying for them. I do a devotional and I write and I journal every morning, you know. And when I pray, I write it down, you know, and I've been writing their names, you know, and each time that I feel like somebody needs extra prayer, I always try to write that part down, you know, and I don't know if writing it down makes it any different, but to me, if I can see it, to me, it makes a difference. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that I mean, and you know, it's just, there's a lot of sadness going on, and I try to pray for everybody that I can, you know. But there's some situations that, you know, the good Lord knows what's going on. You know, he's the only one that does, and maybe someday that when we're in glory, we'll know why, you know. But there's reasons for everything, you know.
There's a lot of good too. I mean, Pastor Allen talks about this. He talks about it sometimes, you know, and we're living in a time where the youth wants to know the truth more than anything. You know, they want the truth. You know, they're open to listening. And you know, Charlie Kirk's passing. I think that really,
Well, I mean,
dude, I'm telling you, it's weird. And I'd say most that followed the guy, probably felt this way. It felt like I lost a best friend, maybe.
Right.
And it didn't feel like a celebrity.
No, it was frustrating. And to me, like I really had to say, I was almost so mad, like it hurt and mad. Like it was, I know what you're saying. I mean,
I've seen, like, I think this year, like, the people going to church, it's just like almost double. I mean, Bibles being bought. It's things like that. I like to read about stuff like that. And it's pretty cool.
I do too. It's with, with everything that has been going on in the world and everything that does go on in the world. I mean, that book right there, if you really look into it, 3,400 years. All right. Basically it's from the start of the writing. Right. It took 1,500 years to write. Right? 40 different authors. Right. But it is a guide to how to live your life. I mean, prosperously. Exactly how to live your life. Now, if that's the worst thing that is, I mean, and it's that long ago, and it's still to this day tells you exactly if you do this, you've got a better chance here. I mean, and your afterlife. I mean, I want to be in the most beautiful color, sound, smells, everything. Yeah, and I want to be able to see that. I want to be able to know that. I want to be able to, all the people that were there, whether we know them as our brothers or sisters, we will know them. And we will know them and we will love, and there's going to be a love that like you've never experienced. Who would not want that?
There's a word quote.
Yeah.
I got two of them.
Sure.
The first one is, and all these things I'm saying, I wish I would have read years ago, man. If I live my life by the Bible and God isn't real, I've lost nothing. But if I live my life ignoring God and He is real, I've lost everything.
Which is weird that I just touched on that. I had no idea you were going to say that. That's the good Lord's word,
But, that's, I mean, I really had to think about this, I've seen this years ago, but if the worst thing you do is commit to the Lord and read the Bible and, and He's not real, then what? Oh well, right? But if He is, I mean, you don't do it, it's a problem.
It's a bad problem.
Yeah, so I think that's I also have one more, and I think it's kind of for parents, but it's for me too sometimes. And it says, break generational curses. Quit yelling at your kids before they go to bed and expect them to sleep well. Quit yelling at your kids in the morning right after they wake up for school and expect them to have a good day. Set the tone for your children. Set the tone for your voice that they will always remember in their heads. You become their inner voice. Don't be their inner critic. Speak life, love, bravery, kindness, and hope. Speak wisdom and truth, and most importantly, listen to your kids.
And the verse that came to me, was Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4. Fathers, do not exasperate your children, meaning do not frustrate or irritate. Instead, bring them up and train them in instruction of the Lord. That's the only verse, and I had a couple, but that's the only one I said, that's the only one I'm going to read. I'm going to read it before we even start. And then we'll roll on with it. So the Lord works on it. And that's just the way it is. And I told you. Now, I told you before we started, I said, you're going to be amazed when we sit down here how the Lord is going to walk you through this. Because when you sit down, He takes over and then everything else just leaves. And it's just how it works. I don't know how it works, but that's how it works. And that's how it works. So when we sit down, we start talking, you don't, it's just like it just comes out. It don't.
So one of my worst fears is public speaking, by the way. I know they're in an audience in front of us, but
There will be a bunch.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but there will be, and that's what I'm saying. The dude, like I said, I told you, man, the Lord guided me through this, and He's still guiding me. I'm still learning this process, but it's God led. It's just God led. That's the only thing I can explain. So Taylor, man, I'm so proud of you. I'm glad that you accepted my invitation to come on to the True Walk, and you was talking about they want to know the truth, and one of the main reasons I call it the True Walk is because when you're telling your story, I want the true story. I do not want. I want everything that comes out because that's the true walk. That's your true walk. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate you telling your story because I really think out there it's going to help somebody. I really do, and I think I think that the whole concept of the way you spoke and how you spoke and reaching the people that you're going to reach, I think it's going to affect a lot of people.
Absolutely.
So every time somebody comes on this podcast, they get a True Walk shirt. And I had somebody ask me the other day, said, "Can I buy a True Walk shirt from you?" And you know what I told them? They're not for sale. In order to get one of these, you have to sit in one of these chairs. I don't even have one. My wife does not even have one. But in order to get one of these, you have to sit in that chair and tell a story, and when you're walking with this shirt on, it's on your chest. You can say, this is the true walk, this is what I'm doing. So thank you again so much for coming on, man, and being here with us. And I'm thankful for you, man.
I told you I got new gifts.
Yeah. So
Before I even knew you were giving out hoodies,
right.
I bought these things.
So go ahead, Taylor, because I had no clue, man. As far as now, you did tell me that you had gotten something, and I don't expect nothing like that, but I am thankful that he did.
Yeah, I'm grateful for this, So I kind of bought gifts and I would like to have it.
Yeah, man. Oh yeah, for sure.
It's it's not special, but I think it's pretty cool. And maybe for a shop or maybe the lights on with the podcast on.
No, that'd be awesome, dude.
But I love 3 nails. I don't know if you've ever seen that company.
Yes, I have, and I think it's really cool, man.
That's a 3 nails light, man. And
man, thank you so much, brother.
I think it's important.
Look at that, man.
Like I said, you put it in the shop or
no, it'll go in here. No, it'll go in here, man. Because I mean, that is as cool as it gets, and I'm so thankful for that, man. I mean that's an honor that you thought of me, to get this in, man. I think it's great. Yeah, and I too, dude. Thank you so much. And let me set this down right here. So we're going to close this episode, number 2 episode today, and I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. Again, if you know somebody or you yourself may want to come on and tell your story in hopes that it will help somebody else out there, please contact me. You can contact me first by a direct message, or you can reach me, and my email address is Michael D. Stanfield 00@gmail.com. That's Michael D. Stanfield 00@gmail.com. It's Michael AEL. But if you guys want to maybe come and tell your story, hey, reach out to me because I would love to have you. We have some other stories coming. I've got some really great guests set up. But again, thank you so much for the opportunity to come out and reach you guys. And God bless each and every one of you.